Hello, I'm Alexandra Anastos with my team Alexa Marion, Stephen Ravelli, and Investment Research Manager Tyler Robinson. Welcome to our Burkenroad Report presentation of Team Industrial Services. Founded in 1973, Team is now the largest industrial service company in the United States. The company provides clients with a wide range of inspection and maintenance services. Team has experienced continuous growth and now has over 100 locations in the United States and abroad. In the past 10 years, the company has increased its revenue from $50 million to $500 million annually. Team continually experiences stable demand for its services because Team exposes itself to a wide array of industries. Team's sales are heavily dependent on the refining and petrochemical industries. However, Team's presence at any given time does not drive its focus. Team constantly fine-tunes its industry presence and looks for growth opportunities in all industries. Team estimates the pipeline industry, only 6% of its resources, will grow fastest over the next decade. Team's business structure continually evolves around the market. The company allocates resources differently as different industries change. Although Team was originally founded solely as a service provider of steam leak repairs and hot tapping, the company has continually added new service capabilities and now provides more than 10 industrial services. Services fall under two divisions. The TCM division covers inspection and field heat treating. Non-destructive testing services are Team's most frequently performed services, contributing to 40% of the company's revenue and its largest opportunity for growth. NDT services include various advanced testing methods. Heat treating services include electric resistance, combustion, and equipment sales, rental, and repair. Team acquired Quest Integrity Group in 2010, which offers inline inspection services and mechanical integrity and engineering assessment. Acquiring Quest has given Team a greater presence in the pipeline industry, an industry with significant potential for growth. The TMS division provides mechanical services. Mechanical on-stream services are industrial plumbing type services and were originally the only services that Team performed. They include leak repair, hot tapping, and structural coatings. Leak detection and repair, or LDAR, services allow Team to detect and safely repair leaks under pressurized conditions while pipelines are still active. This service is of particular value to clients because it prevents them from having to implement costly plant shutdowns. Turnaround and outage services are done in quarters 2 and 4 when industrial plants close down in order to revamp and conduct maintenance. This accounts for large seasonal revenue fluctuations because clients require more services during these times. Turnaround services include field machining, technical bolting, valve repair, pipe insulation, heat exchange repair, and insert valve sales. Team also designs and manufactures the products that it uses in its services at its base in Alvin, Texas. These parts include heat treating equipment, pipe repair, clamps and enclosures, hot tapping and line stop equipment, and various sealants and bonders, as well as leak sealing hardware. Due to stability of demand as well as expansion, Team's revenues have been steadily increasing over the past 10 years. They slightly dipped in 2010 due to the recession, but have since recovered. Team's business model is recession-resistant in the long term. Internally, in fiscal year 2012, revenues grew 23% and adjusted earnings per share increased by 33%. With a current price of $32.17, we give Team a one-year target price of $38 with a rating of market perform. We base this rating and target price upon the following factors: Team's strategic growth methods, continuing customer procurement trends, the company's focus on employee training, stable demand, and preparedness for market changes. Organic growth and strategic acquisitions. Although Team focuses primarily on organic growth, Team supplements this growth with opportunistic acquisitions. Team doesn't buy small competitors in its existing market. It buys either companies that add a new service that their customers demand, new value to existing services, or broaden geographical coverage. All of Team's recent acquisitions have been extremely successful and will continue to add value to the company. Quest added proprietary technical capabilities. TCI added inspection and maintenance services for above-ground storage tanks. EA added pipeline and infrastructure repair and maintenance services. These acquisitions were financed through borrowings on the company's bank credit facility. It is likely that Team will make similar acquisitions in the future should lucrative opportunities arise. Most of Team's revenue is currently in the U.S. However, Canada has a lot of potential growth that Team is and will continue to capitalize on. Strong portfolio of service capabilities. Team provides more complementary inspection, repair, and maintenance services than any other provider in the U.S. The company's business model is such that when demand for certain services change, the company can capitalize on these market changes by developing new services or making a strategic acquisition. Team originally only provided leak repair and heat treating, and all other services have been added based on demand. For example, Team has recently added services such as guided weight inspection, facility mechanical integration programs, and structural composite services in response to growing demand. Team is constantly working on developing new service capabilities and will continue to implement them in the future. Customer procurement trend. The industrial services industry is shifting towards the consolidation of service providers. Clients are looking to get more services from fewer companies to ensure consistency and quality of service. So they are shifting their business to larger companies like Team that can provide a wide variety of services. These types of contracts bring Team more business from its current clients, especially because Team is the largest of many industrial service providers in the U.S. Team and our analysts predict this trend to continue, which will yield Team a continuing gained market share, both domestically and abroad. Focus on employee training and retention. Because Team is a service company, it must ensure that the people providing its services, its technicians, are capable of performing consistent and superior work. Team's recruiters present prospective hires with a career path illustrating their future advancement possibilities from technician training to field supervisor to management. This attracts more motivated individuals who will take pride in their job and job performance. Team spends extensive time training its technicians and provides them with ample support to maintain high quality of services. After the first 3 years of technician training and work, Team's employee turnover rate drops considerably, leaving a group of skilled, dedicated individuals who offer superior performance. Stable demand. Although Team experienced a decrease in demand in 2010 as a result of the recession, its demand has bounced back to beyond its pre-recession levels. Team's business consists largely of required services, like plant maintenance and inspections. Maintenance is needed to keep plants running, and law requires plant inspections. Therefore, Team's services are a necessity to its clients. And though clients can postpone some of these services in hard times, these services are in demand even in the worst economic climates. Potential risks to Team. Operational risks. Because of the nature of the heavy industrial environments that Team services, the company has a high liability risk in its daily operations. Its employees work in dangerous plant environments with pressurized machinery. Although Team adheres to high safety standards and regulations, accidents and unforeseen problems are possible. Team is also liable for work it has completed and often must provide its clients with warranties for parts and work performed. Because it is a maintenance provider, Team is also liable for any faulty work it performs for its clients, which could result in costly property damage and injury. Team carries sufficient insurance to cover employee injury and damage to Team or client facilities. In addition, Team minimizes the risk of incidents by providing their technicians with extensive training and support. The company also does experience some cyclical risk based on the client's preferences for when maintenance work and inspection is completed. Typically, plant shutdowns in the refining industries are scheduled during the fall and spring seasons. Team is aware of the seasonality and plans for it accordingly, but it does present some cyclical revenue risk to the company. Regulatory risks. Team is also subject to a significant number of safety regulations. The penalties for non-compliance with such regulations vary from monetary to criminal liability. If the company does not vigilantly comply to the safety and environmental regulations within all of its sectors, it could be subject to significant regulatory risk because Team does not carry insurance to cover penalties that are imposed on the company if it breaks regulation. In the past few decades, the world has become increasingly more concerned with environmental protection. This has also spurred many regulations, including penalties for industrial mistakes that cause environmental problems. The threat of heavy fines makes Team's preventative services very valuable to its clients. Team does capitalize on these trends from a services standpoint because increased regulation means that Team's customers demand increased inspection services to adhere to these regulations. However, environmental legislation does cause some risk of compliance issues. For example, in 2012, Team pled guilty to a misdemeanor violation of an item in the Clean Air Act. A court verdict is expected by the end of 2012, the resolution of which will have a maximum penalty of $200,000. This amount is unlikely to significantly affect Team's financial position. Because Team has often participated in legal proceedings in the past, it is reasonable to believe that it will continue to face legislation risk in the future. Financial risks. Team and its clients are subject to credit risk as a result of the current economic environment, which makes it difficult for companies to access credit. The company's clients may have trouble financing the maintenance and consulting that they receive from Team, which can stall or potentially cancel a project. In addition, clients may not have access to enough credit to compensate Team for work that it has already performed. Team itself may also have trouble obtaining the lines of credit it needs to expand, which will adversely affect its future growth. Under the current economic environment, almost all companies are subject to some measure of economic risk. During the peak of the recession, Team experienced negative revenue growth because its clients deferred plant maintenance. However, Team's inspection services still performed well during this period because they are related to legal regulations. Since negative revenue growth in 2010, the demand for Team services has completely bounced back and the company has fully recovered. The relative health of Team's clients' markets is very good right now, and as long as another recession does not occur, Team faces little macroeconomic risk. The future is, of course, uncertain, and there are many elements out of Team's control that present risk to the company, such as future tax rates and employee health care costs. Stock ownership. Team's top 10 investors shown here collectively own 42.18% of the stock, and they are all institutional investors. Team's 155 institutional holders own 79.95% of Team stock. Also, 13 insiders own 6% of the shares, and public investors own the remaining 14%. Geographically, the top countries owning stock in Team are the U.S. with 84.35% and Canada with 6.78%, reflecting Team's large portion of operations there. Total estimated float is 18.82 million. Institutional investor and mutual fund ownership of Team stock indicates that professional analysts and investors believe that the company is a strong investment. We met with Team's management on Friday, October 19, 2012, at Team's headquarters in Alvin, Texas. We had the pleasure of talking with Ted Owen, the CFO, who gave us a presentation about the history of Team and the services it provides. He focused on Team's growing market share in the industry, as well as Team's growth strategy. We also discussed customer procurement trends, which are driving customers towards companies like Team. Team's goal is to become a one-stop shop for industrial plant maintenance, and since customers are pushing to reduce the number of service vendors they utilize, Team is successfully capitalizing on these trends. We learned that the key to Team's success are maintaining a service mentality, building a great team of employees, focusing on details in the work, and emphasizing values of integrity, respect, and high expectations. In order to financially value Team, we used financial projections, relative multiple value methods including price-to-earnings ratio, price-to-book value, and enterprise value to sales, and the discounted cash flow method. All rational given Team's business model and industry. We forecasted revenues for the next 2 years using a regression method. The main factors were PPE and oil rigs. High short-term growth will even out, but still stay high at 5% annually based on master service agreements, growth potential, and other factors. We used the relative multiples method to derive Team's future stock price based on its price-to-earnings, price-to-book value, and enterprise value to sales multiples. Because Team does not have a well-defined peer group, we chose to use the averages of the company's historical multiples in our analyses. These are a reliable and reasonable representation for what the stock price will be in the future. We chose also not to include the 2009 numbers, which were low outliers as a result of the financial crisis. We calculated the future price based on the price to cash flow, but decided against using this method in our final valuation. Unlike other multiples, the historical price to cash flow multiples were very volatile and did not give us an accurate future measure. The price to earnings multiple method shows the historical relationship between Team's earnings and its stock price. We found that Team's stock price has been, on average, around 25 times its earnings. Based on our forecast of Team's earnings over the next 4 quarters, we arrived at a price of $36.15 based on the price to earnings method. The price to book value method shows the historical relationship between Team's book value and its stock price. On average, Team's stock price has been about 3 times its book value per share, which gives us a forecast 1-year share price of $44.58. The enterprise value to sales method shows what the historical stock price has been based on Team's cash flows. We came up with an average historical multiple of about 1.1 times sales, which gave us a future stock price of $38.74. Another method that gave us a viable future stock price valuation was a discounted cash flow using the free cash flow method, a very commonly used and trusted valuation method. We forecasted free cash flow for the next 9 years and applied the WACC model to Team to compute a terminal value for free cash flow. Assuming a liquidity risk premium of 0, we then used terminal value to calculate the target price 1 year from now as $33.92. To finalize our valuation, we weighed each method equally and found the 12-month target price to be $38. With a projected 1-year target stock price of $38 and a rating of market perform, we believe that Team is and will continue to be a sound and lucrative investment. Thank you for listening to our presentation.